Hey, YouTube. Oh, this is uncomfortable. Romina, close the door. Close the door. You're gonna see me at my worst. Okay, what's this video about? It's about how I plan to moderate a panel this past week. So, just some context behind what exactly I'm talking about. I have a friend who's a professor at a local college in New York City who I used to work with. And last week he called me and said, "Hey, Austin, we have a program going on in Cameroon with high school students and college freshmen who are super interested in a career in technology, data, automation, whatever it is. And I want you to moderate the panel." What? Dude, I can't enunciate my words. I speak too fast. Sometimes I just talk too much, and I know that. Why do you want me to moderate this panel? But I didn't say that. What I said is awesome. I'm excited. Let's get her done. Why? Because I thought this was going to be an experience. This is something new, and I like challenging myself. I like to put myself in uncomfortable situations now. Um, I, I understood this was somewhat low stakes. It was a comfortable atmosphere. Once again, this was to a room full, and this is virtual, but to a room full of Cameroonian students just aspiring and have a love for data and tech. And I was going to be moderating a panel of three panelists, each of them uniquely positioned in technology. And it was going to be an exciting time. So I went ahead, I gave it the go. And what I needed to do at that point, I knew it. I had 1 week to plan how I was going to become a great moderator. By no means was I great, probably super average. I was invited back, so something went right. I'm also free, so who knows? That might be part of the equation. But I want to go ahead and just show everybody how exactly I went about that process. Before we jump into the process, I would like to say I am a co-founder of Twigflow, and throughout the video, I make mention of it as if I'm not. So, I want to call that out early on. The purpose of this channel isn't exactly just to talk about Twigflow. Whenever I do accomplish something or a goal I've set out to do, I will show the mission in which I use to plan that. But this channel is going to be more than just that. It will be about maybe my masters, life in New York City, my 5 years of consulting. So just want to call that out and enjoy the rest of the video. All right, to plan my approach to being a great moderator, I used a tool called Twigflow. I went to twigflow.com to go ahead and to approach this. And what's unique about Twigflow is, unlike any other application out there, it uses this method of backward planning, also known as backcasting, reverse planning. All of them share the same base to essentially start with the end in mind. So to create the future as the first thing you do, and then to break that down from right to left rather than from left to right. And for me, I've used this for years. It really helps me just concentrate on what exactly I see as the future, like what my vision is. Number two, I feel a little bit closer to it just by putting it down on a piece of paper. And then you do all these things where when you're breaking it down from right to left, you end up creating more steps, and these steps are always aligned to that vision. So you're no longer doing something where, hey, this might help us get to the end point. No, everything you're doing is kind of in line with that. So it's been heavily researched and studied, and that's why I used it. I've used it for years. So that's what you're looking at right here on Twigflow. And once again, the first thing I did is I said I want to be a great moderator. As part of this plan, what I did is, what is the last thing I need to do to before I become a great moderator? Well, number one, I probably need to moderate the panel. So I said, all right, discussion day. That's my milestone. Let's get to discussion day. Let's go ahead and approach it from that perspective. And then before that, I probably need to refine my approach. But refine what? What type of approach? Well, refine what I've been practicing. So you can see from that step, I'm going from right to left and saying, okay, well, refine, then practice. And then this is where the meat of it was. I was practicing a few different things. So number one, I needed to research the panelists. I need to know their jobs, their companies, how what their experience is, where they started. We're talking to an audience of 17-year-olds, 18, 19-year-olds. So we need to have understanding of how to build some type of common interest or share similar stories to what they might be looking at today. I can think back when I was 17. I went to school to study ecological technology. I wish I went to a tech panel because I would have found out, hey, you actually like tech, Austin. I guess ecological technology is within the sector, but we're talking a little bit more like computers. So I went ahead and I was like, all right, who is this guy? What is he up to? And how can I build a story around him? As part of that, I needed to build an introduction. So for me, how am I credible? What have I done in the space? Who am I? So I needed to go ahead and provide like my own journey, my own credentials, make sure it was concise. No one wants to hear me rant for 15 minutes like you are right now, just talking about my life. I went to XYZ school. No, I needed to make sure it was efficient. I needed to write it up, and that went into practicing. And then these final two things is I needed to develop questions. They needed to be targeted, but targeted to what? Well, I needed to research my audience. I needed to say, okay, who are they? What is technology in Cameroon? What's the life of someone interested in tech in Cameroon? I actually talked to a couple of friends who could share some of their experiences. And that really helped me to build what I was practicing. But if you go to the left, the very first thing I did actually is I watched a ton of panels. The day I was asked, I was taking a trip from New York to Maryland on a train to see my parents, and it was a 3 hour ride. And within those 3 hours, I watched so many panels. I watched good panels. I watched bad panels. One of the best panels I watched was a panel. I think it was Google, and it was just these people sitting back talking about their experiences. And I felt like I was in like a barber shop or I was in a coffee shop, just watching these people have a conversation, laughing, cracking great jokes. I was like, this feels like a podcast, but it's a panel. It's insightful. They're providing this great, and like heavily insightful information. That's my goal. I want to be a great moderator like that person. No way was I that. I completely understand that takes years to get to, but why not make that my vision? So, after watching all of those, and you can see, I put some of the YouTube links here. I might put some of them in the description. I probably will put the one I'm talking about right now in the description. Um, but after I planned this out, I took a breath of fresh air and I said, you got it. This is it. Time to execute it. So that's when you work left to right in Twigflow. You can also do this on a piece of paper if you wanted to. I just find it easier to do it here. Also, they provide this view, a Kanban view. So if you're familiar with that, you can go ahead and work within here to go ahead and achieve those steps. But yeah, I worked in here throughout the week. Once again, I had 1 week to do this, and left to right, just went ahead and accomplished some of those goals, and actually have not checked this one off yet. So I think I became it somewhat average. And I'll hit save, and then bam, parade for me, finished it. And it was super exciting. So I hope you guys gained something out of this video. Once again, this was just my experience. This was my specific opportunity to moderate a panel. It was virtual, so it could be completely different from yours. The structure could be different, the context could be different. But if you're going to learn one thing from this, just make a plan. Just make something that's actionable in practice. The panel deserves some type of attention like this. Especially if you're doing this for the first time, don't go in there cold turkey. Really put the time in up front, and I think it's going to really help you. And it's going to help the panel. So, once again, thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. See you.